find you. And I will kill you.
I am the walrus. Shut the fuck up, Donnie.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist.
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
Mrs. Robinson, you're trying to seduce me. Aren't you?
Was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? Hell no!
Just been revoked.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
I want answers! I want the truth! You can't handle the truth! Because it is my name!
I see dead.
Today, Junior?
You ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight? What?
You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
You like scary movies?
Uh-huh.
What's your favorite scary movie?
The price is wrong, bitch.
Chose the wrong one here. There we go. All right. Welcome to Critics Not Cynics, the podcast. Tries to prove that you can be a critic without being a cynic. And as you can see, this week we've changed things up a little bit. Leslie's got the background, and I have the non-filtered background. But that's because I am moving things around right now currently. And also where light is coming in, it doesn't work well with the green screen. So, and you're having a lighting issue kind of yourself too, aren't you?
Yeah, I also switched out my layout, rearranged where I have everything, and the lighting is just not where I want it to be right now, so we'll figure it out.
Yeah, well, we're getting there, as usual.
Yeah, these were pretty much my options, how it looks. No light whatsoever, just kind of creepy in the dark.
Well, you know, like I said before we started recording, this is the appearance of the rare emo Leslie. All right, so this week we are discussing Picard Season 2, Episode 4. We're also going to be talking about No Exit, a film currently streaming on Hulu. But before we kind of get into that type of stuff, I have to do a bit of an angry rant, as I forewarned Leslie beforehand. Most actually during the week when I saw this. And it directly is involved with Picard in our episode last week. So before we get into that, as usual, if you want to share us out on your social medias, help spread the word, help draw people here to the podcast, it'd be much appreciated. Always likes and comments, or even dislikes if you don't like what we got to say, are always welcome. And, you can follow us on our social media on Facebook, Twitter. Pretty much the podcast name that's up there on the screen is what you guys search for, and you'll find it. And we're also on iTunes, Audible, Podbean, basically wherever you can get the audio versions of this if you're listening to it on the audio side only. So with that stuff out of the way, I kind of want to do an angry rant at CBS or Paramount or whoever, whoever is responsible for this. Now, to give some, fairway with this, or some leniency with this, I will say that this was probably not caused by anyone personally. That this was
it was probably a bot.
Yeah. An algorithm that they have to track down any video or audio playing of anything that's like Star Trek or CBS property related. So if you were watching us on YouTube last week, we were playing the trailer in the background while we were discussing episodes 2 and 3 of Picard. Just to kind of have something in there to give reference to what we were talking to, and also as
no audio.
Yeah, we weren't playing the audio to it. We weren't playing full length episodes or anything like that. We were playing what is up on YouTube and has been shared and reacted to hundreds of times by other people. So we were, just having it on there as a reference, and we caught some things that were kind of in the trailer that also were parts of the conversation that we were having, and some things that we were theorizing on as we were discussing those 2 episodes. And after the episode processed, we got a copyright claim. Now, it doesn't impact us primarily because we're not monetized right now, nor will we be in the near future. So, nice try, CBS. You ain't getting any money off of that. But it's a matter of principle to myself, especially with the fact that I think, outside of Star Trek Discovery, we are some of the last few people who defend Star Trek or current Trek. Let's say that. Let's be more clear about that. Anything post J.J. Abrams films, Star Trek, outside of Discovery. I know you haven't watched Prodigy, but I really like Prodigy, and we've both, although we've had issues, we both are generally favorable to Picard. And there is kind of a disconnect, or the best way I can say it is kind of a fan relations problem that CBS or Paramount has currently, where they are getting more hate than they are praise from YouTubers, from streamers, from social media in general. So when you... Again, the royal you, not like someone specific at CBS, but when you have these kind of constraints, well, I understand they serve a purpose for IP protection and making sure people aren't just streaming episodes of Star Trek for free without any commentary or fair use to it. When you do have an algorithm or a bot, or even if it was a manual catch and copyright, I don't think you want to start really, especially when it's a trailer, I don't think you want to start striking, or not even striking, but claiming, because it's not a strike, so we don't have to worry about that that aspect of it. But my opinion of it is, you already have this fan relations issue right now, where you don't have people who are generally open to new Trek. And I've done some, swaying with Discovery, where I think now it's kind of finding its footing. It's fixing some of the problems, but it still has a bunch of other problems that need to be addressed. But for the most part, it's gotten better compared to especially the first 2 seasons, because of their just contradictions with canon and continuity and disrespecting fans in general. But I don't think you want to start, whether they're criticizing it or they're praising it, I don't think you want to start having claims out there when people are using it in fair use and are using it and talking about it positively, or even just talking about it, because as we all know, with the golden rule of PR, there is no such thing as bad PR, because if people are talking about you, you're relevant, and that's the thing that anyone in public relations really cares about, is that, hey, there's people buzzing about it. But I really don't like that we had it muted. We had it on a loop. It was the same trailer. We were picking points out of it that were relevant to this discussion we were having. We both access Paramount Plus through legal means. So, it's not like we were pirating anything. It was also a video that is up on YouTube itself. And I just don't think you want to go down that road if you really want to, because I think you will ruin what little goodwill you have left with fans. And that won't save Trek either, because honestly, you need people watching these shows. You need people supporting Paramount Plus for these shows to continue. And although I'm excited that we have a season 3 of Picard that's going to be in the works, I could stop watching Picard tomorrow. You know, if I really wanted to, if I wanted to take a principled stand on this and go, you know what? You copyright claimed our live stream for playing a trailer muted and having a discussion over the trailer and analyzing the trailer, everything that falls under fair use, you know, that's enough to make me go, yeah, maybe I don't need to support these shows. Doesn't mean I'll stop supporting some of the other shows, but specifically right now you're hitting me with Trek, and Trek is near and dear to my heart, and Picard is near and dear to my heart, as he's my favorite captain. TNG is pretty much my favorite series next to DS9, and I don't like, especially when you're a big kind of multi-million corporation, and we are just two people on YouTube doing this on our free time, not making any money off of this. You know, I think if you were looking at a bigger streamer or someone with 900,000, actually, you know what? No, I take that back. I don't even think a person that has 900,000 subs, is monetized, has ads, has ad revenue, I don't even think you should hit them with it. It should be, when it is being fairly used, it's being used for analysis, it's being used for critique. You don't mess with those people. They're not abusing the IP. They're not stealing the IP. They're not trying to claim the IP as their own. Much like Star Trek Discovery did with Season 1 in their lawsuit, that I don't know what ended up becoming of that, but where there were direct comparisons of things that were stolen from an indie video game developer, specifically with the tardigrade. So just... I hope someone I doubt it, but I hope someone at CBS listens to this and understands. Now, I'm not disputing the claim because, as I told Leslie beforehand, I'll save it for something that's more important down the road. I don't want to waste any possibility of having something that is more serious come down the road and, you know, this be in a history of, oh, well, they disputed this, and you know they've disputed that, and they're all futile disputes, and they're just trying to whatever. You know, I'm gonna save those for when I think we truly need to do it. But I want you, at whoever at CBS, to understand you're going to hurt your own IPs by doing this behavior. Again, I'd understand if we were purely watching the whole 2 episodes of Picard and we weren't talking and we weren't doing any type of commentary, and we were showing the full-length episodes, and we weren't even showing ourselves on screen, I would say, yeah, you're absolutely right to come after us with a copyright claim or even a copyright strike at that point. But again, this falls under fair use. YouTube is built on fair use. There has become this growing thing. If you notice the trend from last week, and we are going to do it again this week with a different thing when we talk about No Exit, we are going to have the trailer playing in the background. But if you look at last week's episode, we had the Picard trailer playing. We had the Adam Project playing. We had the Ms. Marvel trailer playing. So we had 3 trailers, and we had Disney, Netflix, and CBS. Out of the 3, if you would have told me I would have gotten a copyright claim, I would have said Netflix first, and then I would have said Disney. I wouldn't have gone straight to CBS. So, if Disney can understand... Oh, we even played the Obi-Wan trailer, too. So we had played 2 Disney Plus trailers, and 1 Netflix trailer, and 1 CBS trailer, over a 2-hour live stream. And we maybe spent 45 minutes to an hour talking about Picard because we were talking about 2 episodes. We're going to spend a lot less time this week. And in fact... as a forewarning, we might end before our 2 hours are up here just because we didn't have a whole lot of topics. And that's partly my fault because Leslie, who has been offering up a lot of good ideas and stuff to do and add to the show, messaged me Wednesday or Thursday and was like, so what are we covering? And I'm like, oh, yeah, didn't even think about it. So that's on me. But let's just say, be careful, because I think you'll end up doing more harm to your IPs than you will good. Because, again, even though we're going to be probably very critical of this episode of Picard, which has nothing to do with the copyright claim. It's just not that great of an episode. You know, you don't want to have two people who, if you go back and you listen to our season 1 review, we probably, I'd say we probably stood as a black sheep compared to everyone else. All I heard, not to say that there wasn't anyone speaking positively about it, but all I heard were people complaining about it, that it was ruining Picard, that it was emasculating Picard, that it was destroying Picard as a character, and it was too sci-fi actiony, and he was doing things contradicting his own character throughout TNG, which Leslie and I both, I think, did excellent analysis of, saying, actually, no, this fit really well with his character and with stuff that was established in Next Generation and in the films, and even in the extended universe in the books. So I don't think you want people who are actually talking positively about the show or trying to approach the show with a positive manner by doing something such as this, because it definitely leaves a sour taste in my mouth. Yes, it doesn't impact the channel. Yes, it doesn't impact the live stream. It's still up there, but still, it's a principle of matter, and I really think that as a corporation, you need to evaluate your relationship with your consumer base and go, do we really need to do something like that, or do we not? Was this really over the line, or were we right in what we were doing? So for the future, or for if some random CBS employee listens to this because they're bored and they don't want to listen to all the bigger live streamers or podcasts out there, just listen and take it as constructive criticism, as, hey, maybe we should change things up just a smidge. I'm not telling you to change your entire policies, but because I do think there's a time and a place to hit with a copyright claim or even a copyright strike. This just didn't happen to be it. So I don't know if Leslie has anything to say on what I've talked about, but this was purely my ideas only, my thought processes on it, because I know when it was done, we had no copyright claims. Checked it the next morning after this stream processed, and there it was. So it just
I just think
me.
It was most definitely a bot, that there was no human behind it. I feel like because there's such a rampant level on YouTube of people like really flirting with the line with the reacting channels and stuff of like where the line is, especially the music. Like music has gotten hardcore with, claiming things, that I think it's such an overwhelming amount that it's definitely a bot, an algorithm, and I don't feel like there was any human behind it, that, it's like, I'm not irritated or anything. I'm like, yeah, that's the computer for you,
Yeah, I think though, if something like Disney and Netflix can understand that, I would think that a business like CBS would, that they would be able to have their maybe their algorithm programmed just a little bit of, okay, were they playing an episode or were they playing a trailer? If they're playing a trailer, fine. If they're playing an episode, definitely there's an issue. So if maybe whoever's behind the algorithm for it could make those slight adjustments. Because again, I can understand if it's a full-length episode. Yeah. But this was a trailer, and this was the second and last trailer. So there's not even enough context in the trailers, because we were even discussing that, when does this XYZ part take place within the season, and how is the season going to play out, that nothing of it was necessarily spoiler-ish, if I can pronounce the word correctly. Yes, I am drinking, but I haven't had that much to drink yet.
Sure.
Well, this is only my second drink. But yeah, it's just one of those things. It just kind of irks me a little bit. It's kind of a principle of matter for me. So if it happens in the future, let me tell you, it's because it's one thing. Let's just say this, and I have been really bad at checking our email, but we were getting solicitations from all these independent companies just even to play trailers for their upcoming independent movies. And if I were to start thinking that they might copyright claim for playing their trailer in a manner of promotion. Now, not to say I don't think any of them would do that, but like that's what now I have to be concerned about is could they potentially come after me later or come after us later, hit us with a copyright claim, even though we were doing them the favor of promoting it. Now, again, we're not a big podcast. We don't have that big of a reach, but still, it's like, well, if this company's going to do it, some other company might do it, whether they're big or they're small. It's just, I think you got to have those definitions of fair use. What is allowed? What isn't allowed? Are they crossing a line? Are they not crossing a line? And put that into better implementation. But that's enough. Like I told Leslie, I can make this go about a half-hour rant, and we're a little short of a half hour on the rant, so I'll go ahead and I'll end it here so we can go ahead and talk about Picard, since we're on the topic of Star Trek and such. So Picard, Season 2, Episode 4, I'm trying to remember, it is just titled The Watcher, or Watcher, rather.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much time we're going to spend on this because I think Leslie and I both were equally meh about this episode. It wasn't terrible, but there was a lot of ham-fisted stuff in it. There are a lot of moments where I go, okay. And I think to sum it up best with mild spoilers for the episode, because honestly I still don't have any idea what's going on. The Q stuff makes sense. The Watcher stuff makes no sense whatsoever right now. So that's kind of where I got left off with the episode.
Yeah, I just feel like this was kind of a plateau. Mm-hmm. Just kind of like the previous episode was a little bit of a plateau. We're still in that plateau. I'm waiting for them to like get out of 2024. I feel like maybe next episode. Hopefully.
Although they're supposed to be there for 3 days, so who knows?
Well, that's true. So maybe it's another couple episodes. Yeah. I don't really feel like anything's happening. It's like it's one of those like a lot of stuff is quote unquote happening in their episode, but nothing's really happening.
Right.
So like the only thing that really stood out to me was immediately, and of course, like you said, I guess there's already been talk online, but immediately when he says that that's a Guinan, and she doesn't know who he is. I'm thinking about Time Zero. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, wait, what? But then I guess it's the timey-wimey, whatever, Doctor Who, wibbly-wobbly. Because I'm like, okay, well, if this is a different thing and that future never happened, then I guess he never went back to the ancient West at that time.
Yeah.
And they never met then. But at first, all that happened when I was watching the episode was that it just really threw me off that I was like, she doesn't know who he is. Because I'm like, of course she knows who he is. They've already met, like, 100 years ago. And I'm like, oh, wait. So I had to, like, stop and, like, think about it. And that just really completely kind of threw that off.
Yeah, it doesn't
the whole thing...
it doesn't quite, like, mesh in the sense... Because, like, the thing I had read was... and actually, let me see if I can... I've got it right here. Because it's a part of the episode trivia on IMDb. Just making sure I got it correct here. Come on, where are you? Come on now. Okay, Guinan first met Jean-Luc Picard in 1893 rather, during the events of Time Zero. However, due to the divergence in time changing the future, the events that led to Time's Arrow never happened for her, and Picard never traveled back in time to 1893 and met Guinan. This is why Guinan doesn't recognize Picard. So within the context of it being the divergence happens in 2024, Picard in Next Generation was part of the Confederation and never went back.
Never did that, yeah.
So that is the explanation. Now...
Yeah. In universe, it kind of makes sense, but it's still just, like, watching the show threw me off.
So, because there is a little bit of a mislead with the coordinates that send Picard to Guinan, But as soon as he walked in and then he said Guinan, this was my immediate reaction.
No, don't like that. No.
Well, I didn't mean to play it twice, but basically, yeah. I wasn't, and this is nothing against the actress. I think the actress was fine. But I didn't like that being the thing.
It was Guinan?
That it was Guinan. And one, it feels like it's a crutch instead of creating... Well, although it's, let's be fair, it's a slight crutch because there is a twist. She is not the Watcher, per se. But it just... It seemed rote, and it seemed... One, and I guess you can say, well, this is because of the divergence in time and everything. But this Guinan doesn't feel like Guinan at all. Like, even if you go back to Time Zero, Guinan was different. Like, and you could say, well, by 2024, she was jaded. All she saw was all the hate in the world and stuff like that, which kind of goes into the little bits of the ham-fistedness of social justice issues within the episode. Like, again, I go back to DS9. DS9 was able to handle social issues with such dignity and grace that it never felt like I was being preached to. This episode felt ultra preachy because, again, as someone of myself who tries to treat everyone with respect, I know these things are wrong. And I think the audience of Star Trek know these things are wrong. The audience that might be perpetrating these types or have these opinions towards others don't watch Star Trek. They don't. So you're preaching to an audience that already understands these concepts and tries to treat people in the right way. That especially, and again, I know this Guinan doesn't know Picard, but Guinan basically attacking him for his whiteness. Like going to well, of course it's not bad for people who look like you. And it's like, where Picard comes from, or when Picard comes from, race isn't an issue anymore. And now you are, without quote unquote necessarily knowing him anymore at this point, you are attacking him within the same concepts of, see, that's the thing that bugs me the most, is they want to be critical of the mistreatment of others. But by being critical of the mistreatment of others, they then, in some cases, go and mistreat others. It's just not the others that are being currently mass mistreated. And I know it's within the idea of sending a message, but again, those people who watch Star Trek know the message. They understand the message. They kind of espouse the message. And when you go and you do it this ham-fisted, because even when Picard goes, look, they're still good. When we're in that kind of downtrodden area and you have the donations and people are sharing water and helping others out, Guinan immediately is like, it's not enough. And it kind of is counter to the message. Any little effort is a start. What a fire starts from a single spark. To go to even Star Wars at that point, basically.
Light the spark, ignite the fire.
Exactly. Like, if you're not there to encourage it, and you're not there to see it happen, and you don't try to help others, and you just write everyone off, of course that flame is going to die. That change is going to die. Because he makes that a very astute line. Like, I got to give the writers credit for that, is change doesn't always come when we want it. And that is 100% true. Change will come. It's just going to be maybe 20, 30, 40, 50 years down the line. Look at today. We were not the society today that we were 50 years ago. Wasn't overnight that the world changed. It was a gradual change. So it's those moments, and particularly in this episode, that kind of hurt it for me. Like, again, like we talked about last week, Rios being, of course, he's the Hispanic of the group, so he gets to go through the whole ICE detainee and getting shipped to God knows where on the bus and everything. And although I liked the little kind of storyline with him and the doctor, yeah, it's just like, oh, of course, this is a. You can see the writing. Good writing is when you can't tell the writers are writing it. This is where the writing is literally on the wall. Like it's so in your face. And I like Santiago Cabrera. And I feel like they are really misusing him this season by making him kind of the bumbling fool who gets into accidents, gets tased, and then is getting shipped on the bus to God knows where. Like, can we treat him with a little bit more respect? Or what? It's these things about the episode that kind of really bother me. But as a Star Trek fan, one of the things I really like about the episode is the punker on the bus being the same actor who played the punk on the bus in Star Trek 4. Now, here's where you and I disagree.
Yeah, I just kind of felt like it was anticlimactic, because I was like, oh, it's probably the same guy, or it's meant to be reminiscent of that. I was just expecting a little bit more when she's like, shut up and stop playing that. I expected him to be like, just not like a total fight or anything, but just like a little more that he would be angry yelly and she would like out angry yelly, kind of like like roar and then louder roar, and then that would be it. But then he was just like, I just like this song, and I was like, what?
So for me,
I just really felt like that whole thing was pathetic.
See, I liked that it didn't go that same route, because I can tell you right then and there, my mind was going, he's going to turn the music up, they're going to have a fight, and instead he goes, oh yeah, sorry, I'll turn it down. Like, I just really like this song. Like, it was just, I liked that it didn't go, because that was the easy route for them to go, in my opinion. Like, you're already being evocative of Star Trek 4, but you're doing it a little bit differently. But you and I will agree to disagree on that. Then, there's also kind of still, again, underdeveloped plot lines. The Picard memories, I'm trying to figure out where these are going, especially because it looked like maybe his mother has mental issues or had a mental breakdown at some point, because we get those quick flashes and she's angry and she's throwing stuff. But then we flash to him being a young boy with fear, and she, makes the fear go away for him. And then we have, so like, I don't understand necessarily at the moment, again, to reserve right to judge it on how the rest of the season plays out. Don't know where that's going. And Girardi and the Borg Queen. Like, you're setting these things up, but you're not giving enough of a payoff in the episode itself to really justify what you're setting up, because you're having this weird back and forth. They're talking about being lonely and blah, 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 blah. And then they go, okay, we'll do the exchange. You help me, I'll help you. And then Girardi, betrays the Queen, which was part of the conversation for sure about betrayal, but felt like none of that was, like, it's meant to be important, but didn't feel important. Like, much like Picard picking up on the 15. Like, I wouldn't have been paying attention that she moved 15 pieces on the abacus, picked the 15th volume and the 1915th year of the Pinot Noir. Like, I mean, I wouldn't have been looking for that, or I don't know how he necessarily was looking for it.
Well, he already has experience with numbers appearing to send you a message. 3 or whatever, He has experience with that.
That's true.
I don't know. I just this episode kind of just feels like, so far, everything they've done feels like something that should have been one episode drawn out too far. Yeah. Whereas, like, last season, I said it's kind of like we're getting one episode, but we're drawing it out so we see all the parts. Mm-hmm. That's kind of like what's happening here, only now the parts are kind of like meh. So and they're not as interesting as they were last time.
Or is it that they overcorrected and they're trying to not stretch out the episodes, but by not stretching out the episodes, they're leaving stuff not fulfilled?
I don't know, because I feel like they have a goal in mind of where they're going to be at the end of the season. They're just, I don't know, because like I said, like, they did a lot, sort of, but also none of it felt like we did a lot.
Right. Yeah. Oh, no, I totally agree. Like, even Rios' whole detention didn't really serve a purpose until they got him on the bus. Like,
yeah, it was just...
I did like his little oh, I'm Cristobal Rios, I'm a captain of the USS Stargazer, blah, 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 blah. And then the officer's just like, yeah, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
I did like that little bit, but that really served, even his conversation with the doctor at that point, really didn't serve any real purpose or character development. Like, Rios was never really, like, insecure from where he came from or how he came to be. Like, that this isn't a lesson he needs to learn.
Yeah.
You know, type of thing. And then you have, you know, Seven and Rafi just joyriding. Like, you know, because, like, I have to agree with Seven at this point when she phasers the window and then uses the tricorder to get in the car, like, or to use the car computer, and she's like,
"Computer,
couldn't you have just done that to unlock the car?" Yeah, but the phaser was cooler. Like, okay, but you know you've got to keep it low key, and you just did something extremely reckless, and then the whole chase scene really didn't seem to serve a purpose. It's just like, okay, we got to get them to.
That's where
Rios.
It's like, if this was one episode, like we would, like last episode, we would have seen Rios captured.
Yeah.
And like I'm saying, if this was an old episode, like if this is Next Generation, like the next time we see Rios would be them putting him on the bus or whatever, and things like that. Like, because they would have that 45-minute time constraint. Like, we wouldn't have all this long drawn out stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Where that's where it feels to me like. I feel like last season it worked, and this season I'm kind of like, you're not really doing anything here that I really care about.
And maybe because like we're trying to think what they're thinking, right? So we're trying to understand what the
trying to figure it out
context is. Where we're trying to, like we did this with Falcon and Winter Soldier, where we're like, well, maybe the next episode will tie things in together, and that's very possible, especially if next week's episode is the last that we're spending in 2024, and then we're going into the future. Although, honestly, I don't know with this Watcher stuff how long we're going to spend in the past, because the Watcher, when you get the reveal of who the Watcher is, we won't go into spoilers on who the Watcher is, but when you get to the Watcher, it's like, what? Like, this doesn't make sense.
Well, at this point, I'm feeling like it's not supposed to be the character we already know.
Okay.
That's my guess. My guess is that it's not supposed to be the character that we already know, which try not to give spoilers. Right. You know, I'm trying to think, how do I say this? I feel like it's a separate entity because of the powers displayed.
Well, not only the powers, this will give a little bit of a hint, but the ears.
Well, that too, yeah. But I feel like it's some sort of separate kind of entity. I don't know. And I know
really
that's totally
clever, if they wanted to be really clever with it, and since we'd already had a reference to Star Trek 4, I was about to say Star Wars 4, they would have had a headband. But okay, sorry to interrupt you.
No. I was like, it's totally random, but I keep like in my head like thinking about I don't remember their race, but they're the people who took Captain Pike from the pilot episode.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, I know it's not them.
The big brains.
But whatever they were called, that have powers and things like that, that I'm just kind of like, but, you know, because you're thinking about when we first saw Guinan, but she's like, it's not me. I was thinking, well, maybe it's another Allelurian.
Mm-hmm.
Allelurian, whatever. I was like, maybe it's another one, like a more aged one, you know.
Could be.
Something like that, but then we're going with, like, the Watcher, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, and the fact that Guinan is even kind of scared.
Afraid of them. Yeah, because she's not afraid of Q, you know, when they meet, you know.
And see, this is where I think they're failing a little bit, is Q is our quote-unquote the villain, right?
Main antagonist, like.
And we don't really know what's going on with him, but we get a
haven't
little
gotten
glimpse.
To see him enough.
We got a little glimpse, and it's like, why are you hiding that, right? Like, again, we got 10-episode season, so we still got plenty of episodes to go, but, like, we need to see a little bit more of this, and I have a feeling we'll see a little bit more of it in the next episode, because that's kind of where the episode ends, essentially. But did you also catch that the young girl was reading a Dixon Hill book? Basically.
Yeah, and he's doing his weird monologue to himself, and you're kind of like, what's going on, buddy? You know, like, Are you okay?
Well, clearly we know at least what is going to be impacted, and that's going to be the Europa mission.
Well, yeah, because he's wearing that jacket or whatever.
We can assume that this young woman is probably a lead scientist on the project, and that's
or something.
And that's whose destiny he's going to change. That Europa was kind of, let's say, the precursor to Cochrane's warp drive before World War III and the eugenics war, which I don't even know if they're still even remembering that is the cause. Basically, the whole world gets kind of wiped out. Like, Guinan, you want to give up hope right now, but because it's so bad now, it's going to get a lot worse.
It's going to get a little worse. But then it will be good.
Exactly. And Picard trying to get that message across to her, and her not really understanding that, again, makes me feel like this.
No, don't like that.
No. Of course, I keep wanting to hit replay when I want to stop it. But yeah, I just don't feel like this. Although, again, the actress playing younger Guinan is fine. I have no real issues with her. But she's not Guinan, And the divergence in the timeline hasn't happened as of yet for her. May have happened for Picard, Rios, and all of them. That I don't understand. Again, we're getting into time paradoxes.
Timey-wimey, yeah.
I don't understand why she's this down. Because Guinan has always been positive. And it felt like they were just like, we want to do gritty Guinan. We want to do a Guinan who don't take shit from no one. And it's like, it doesn't work for the character. Like, even if you go to episode 1 of this season, that's not Guinan. Like, that's Guinan in episode 1. This isn't Guinan. And I don't care what time paradoxes are coming in there, but if the event hasn't transpired yet, Guinan should not be changed yet. In that sense. Like, I can understand the times arrow thing, whatever. Again,
because it's like, if it technically hasn't diverged yet and there's still 3 days, wouldn't she be more jaded or whatever in those at the 3 days, like at that third day?
Right.
Shouldn't she still already know who he is? I don't know. That's getting into, like, I'm not a physicist. I don't know.
And let me tell you this. The writers don't even know.
Yeah. You pull up the clip from Avengers, like, when did you become an astronuclear physicist or whatever, like, last night, That's what we need to have. That one on tap.
Let's see.
So
you mean this one?
Another portal. That's what he needs.
I don't know,
I don't
maybe.
know if it's loud enough.
He's an astrophysicist.
He's a friend.
He has him under some kind of spell.
Gotta jump. Hang on.
I don't know.
Let me find it while we're.
Gotta, like, jump forward to whenever it's Hill. She's like, when did you become an expert? Am I the only one who did the reading?
Also, means the portal can open as wide and stay open as long.
Let's see if Disney tries to hit us for this.
Raise the missing mast. Ship the top tails. That man is playing Galaga. Probably wouldn't notice, but we did. How does Fury even see these?
Okay, I can't quite find it, but
yeah, we're in the right spot.
We're in the right area. I just can't quite isolate the clip like I did with the nope, don't like that. But yeah, it's one of those things where, like, I think that they want to be clever with it, but they're not really thinking about, because that was your thing to me after you watched it before me, was time paradoxes and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was like, I don't understand. I'm trying to figure out how it all
fits, how it all works out.
But I mean, overall, it was just kind of like an okay episode. Just like, it's okay. It's whatever. I'm hoping for more and for better so that I can be like, oh, okay, we had a couple filler episodes, but this is where we're going. Like, I want to understand who the Watcher is and why, which I'm hoping we'll get more of next episode. You need to keep using a little more of Q, like, because he's probably, like, I'm trying to think, like, out of the Next Generation of quote-unquote antagonists, the Borg and Q and then the introduction of the Romulans are, like, the biggest 3 that I come to mind,
Well, and here is truly how this episode, since I'm going to do this as a gag, but this is how this episode really left me.
I missed out on the whole thing, to be honest with you. I was confused by it. I was very confused by the whole thing, if I'm being honest.
You know, that's when you get to the end of that episode. I'm just like, what? Because I even said that to you. I'm like, okay, basic Q thing, totally get, 100%. Makes sense to me. Watcher, I have no idea. So hopefully we do get those answers with the next one, which is, I mean, I may be harsher in my score on this episode, but like I do with most things, I will reserve right to change it when we get the grander context, because, you know, with the way the episode ends, they can't not tell us who the Watcher is and what they're doing and what their grand purpose. Like, I still have to wonder
why they're there.
I still have to wonder if it has something to do with like the temporal Cold Wars, you know, with the stuff from Enterprise and everything. But I don't know. That's all I gotta say is I don't know.
Insert shrugging.
Yeah. But okay, so we've pretty much beat that dead horse.
I don't know. I'd probably give it maybe a 3, 2.5.
You got me with 3. 3 is pretty much where I land. Like, again, I don't hate it. And see, let's kind of go back to what I was talking about with Discovery. Discovery ruined this for me, and this is why I don't want to spend so much time in 2024. Discovery did something really cool in season 1 where they brought in the Mirror Universe, and the Mirror Universe having a real big play on the events of what happened with season 1. Problem is, it spent like 4 or 5 episodes in the Mirror Universe, and I don't like more than 2 or 3 episodes in the Mirror Universe in any of the older series. And they did too much, spent too much time there, lollygagged around, and just was like, let's just keep doing it. Let's spend more time there. Why Star Trek for the Journey Home works is it's 1 2-hour movie. You get your beginning set in the present, you go back in the past, you have your fun romp in the past, and then you end coming back. It serves one big giant purpose. But if Next Generation, if the original series, if DS9, if Voyager spent an entire season or even half a season in time travel episodes, I would have hated them. Yeah. You know, they knew how to play it right between typically a 1 to 2-parter, and in DS9's case, sometimes a 3-parter. And kind of going back multiple times over multiple seasons. But they knew not to overstay their welcome. Where I'm a little concerned because it's a lot easier to shoot in 2021 or 2020 Los Angeles than it is to do green screens and effects of San Francisco set in 2400 or whatever. But I just don't want them to have spent a majority of this season in the past, because I think that is a mistake, and that can cause an issue with pacing, with storytelling, and ultimately with the overall enjoyment of the series in of itself. So I think that is going to do it for our part of the conversation.
For that, yeah.
Now, you'll have to bear with me as we go over to No Exit. I watched this a few weeks ago and have not managed to necessarily rewatch it. It was kind of our go-to of, oh crap, I didn't plan for anything, so I was like, well, I've watched it, and so Leslie can watch it, and then we're good.
Yeah.
But I did enjoy it, but it's got some issues, so we're going to discuss that here. And like we talked about, we are going to have the trailer playing in the background just as soon as I get everything moved around here. And I hopefully Fox won't hit me with this, but so as IMDb says, during a blizzard and stranded at an isolated highway rest stop, actually that's not true, it's a ranger station, in the mountains, a college student, also wrong, discovers a kidnapped child hidden in a car belonging to one of the people inside. That's not a very accurate synopsis out on IMDb. It's got the main plot there, but it's got some key factors a little wrong. Now, this was one thing I did not know, as you saw there in the trailer. This is based off of a novel.
I'm hoping the
no
novel
idea.
would be better, but if the novel's core plot is the same as the movie, I'm very sorry to the author, but there are huge plot holes.
Huge
like
plot
very
holes.
obvious plot holes.
Huge conveniences.
Oh,
Let's just say.
I mean, it's full of them.
So, but let's get the kind of the good out of the way. I like the setting. I like our main character. As flawed as Darby is, she makes for a very interesting character. Now, however, they don't really and this isn't the actress's fault. It's purely the writing of the script for this. Probably better in the book because you can do a lot of things with character thought processes in a book that you can't do in a movie. But her overall arc in the film does not get nearly as much justice as it should.
Yeah, like, I mean, as it starts out, I'm like, this is our main character, and I'm supposed to care about her? I'm like, I did not care about her whatsoever, this attitudey brat. But, like, as it goes on, probably by the point that she discovers the kid and what she decides to do after, she's more interesting to me then.
Yeah.
But, again, from a book perspective, I'm thinking you had better have a really good chapter 1 if that's your main character and how you open, because I'm putting that book down if that's the case. I mean, I'm being honest here. Like, that would not hold my interest at all.
I honestly have to think that it probably dealt a little bit more with her pre-rehab and then post-rehab.
You would hope something, yeah.
Or at least spent a little bit more time in rehab, because that ultimately is what kind of does a disservice to her. Is it opens up, she's in rehab, she's a heroin addict, and she OD'd. This is like 11th time I think she said there in the trailer. It's a multiple times she's been in rehab, so she's obviously not succeeded well. And then she gets the call to her mom's sick, and they won't let her out to go visit her mom, so she decides to break out. But that's all done within about 10 minutes. Like, you barely get to know who she is, except that she's kind of a bitch.
That's why I was like, this is our main person I'm supposed to care about.
So, but I like the setting. I'm a huge fan.
For like a horror or / like thrilling, something very suspenseful, it's a good setting because it's limiting your options and making the people feel like trapped. Like it's not like, oh, I'll just go up the street to the Walgreens or whatever.
Right. It's got that isolation feel. They're in the middle of a blizzard. I like films that kind of take place in a winter setting like that, much like The Thing. Silent Scream is also one of my favorites because, like, okay, you can go outside. You're not going to make it far,
Right.
So you have that kind of route taken away from you, and really here is her only place of security. And as we find out in the film, it's not that secure either. So,
right.
But yeah, it's and I think ultimately another failure is that the rest of the characters also don't really get much development.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna say something about the number of people involved, because there's a couple of plot twists.
Oh yeah,
and let's not give away like all of them, but the first plot twist I think is very good.
Yes.
The second plot twist kind of puts a nail in the coffin. It's like,
yeah. So without going into spoilers, obviously one of these people is involved with the kidnapping outside of Darby.
Right.
Darby is as we know, is our only innocent involved in this. But we find out that, this girl has been kidnapped, and so one of these individuals is the kidnapper. Then we kind of get a nice little plot twist, which, be clear, I didn't see it coming. So it was one that really kind of caught me off guard and was like, oh, nice, clever.
Yeah.
Like my mind didn't go there. Then you get to that second one, and it's like, okay, you tried too many times. Like, because when you've got this circumstance, when you've got this scenario of a blizzard, and these 5 individuals happen to be in the same place, and there's this much surprise and coincidence, it doesn't happen. It doesn't.
It just doesn't. It doesn't need that other plot twist.
Right.
I feel like.
Because,
I feel like the writer. This was a point where the writers of the film part, because again, I haven't read the book. I don't know. Felt like they needed the next event to move the story along. Like, cause we're at like maybe a spot where we feel like we're kind of at a stalemate, and we needed the next thing. But I don't know. I feel like there could have been a better solution to moving it along than what happened.
Let's say maybe even say you still have that second plot twist in there, and that's there. Maybe you don't reveal it till the end.
Yeah, something like that.
Maybe you keep that kind of as the card you play close to your chest, and because like we also have a kind of I have an issue with the ending per se, because I would have done it a little bit differently without going into spoilers. I just think that it gave the happy ending, but it again does nothing for Darby's character. In reality, she is in the exact same place that she was in the beginning, literally and figuratively.
She at least looks at the end like she's giving an effort this time and not so attitude-y.
That's the one
and
change.
So like chip on my shoulder.
She learned the lesson.
Yeah, basically. But by the end of this, I was kind of at the point of disbelief that she could have physically survived everything that happened to her. Like pretty much by the very last probably injury that she got, I'm like, she's definitely dead.
Just to give an idea with no context and no spoilers, a nail gun shot through a hand, and a really, really bad car accident. I mean, I might be missing a few things in the midst of
there's
that,
some other stuff, but still, it's like,
There's two big ones.
Do you want for me to talk about the biggest plot hole that I have an issue with? I texted you.
You didn't tell me what it was, but sure, why not?
Did I not? Okay. Well, the plot hole that was the biggest one for me that I had.
Now you're not talking about the hole in the wall in the bathroom, right?
No. Not the little hole in the bathroom. Was the fact that sometime after second plot twist happens, characters obviously start dying.
Yes, you did tell me this. Yes.
The guy is all hung up. The guy, the person, the whatever. I'm like, wait, there's another one. I don't, our villain is all hung up about getting their keys back. Okay. Yep. And I'm like, you have just shot person. Why are you not taking person's keys and just going?
Right.
Literally. They're dead on the floor. They have a Jeep or whatever out in the parking lot. We see it. Keys.
Yeah.
Right there in dead person's pocket. You take said keys, you walk outside, you start car. Like, there's just such a huge, like, feels like a neon blinking sign, like, plot hole, plot hole. That's like, this is all quickly over, because at this point, it pretty much ends the movie and it ends the book. The person shoots all the rest of them, takes keys and goes. So that's where it really, I was like, well, I'm out, mentally. I'll start scrolling on Facebook, going through reels on Instagram. Like,
let me ask you this, because again, I'm going to give another injury without context for another character. Nail in forehead. Do you try to move that person with said nail in forehead?
Never. Okay. Never. You sit down.
Now what's
in a chair or
again
something.
without saying what happens in the scene? I looked away for like half a second and missed what
and it
happened.
Was over?
And then I looked over and I'm like, wait, what? And then I, by context, I figured out what happened, and I'm like, idiot. Like,
yeah,
why?
Like that was really stupid.
But outside of that, I think the cast. So where this film really has its problems is in its writing. The acting, I think, was fantastic. I really liked Darby. Of course, most people might go, well, you think everyone's acting is fantastic. No, I watched some really bad horror films that I know bad acting. So this is typically on par or average with decent acting. I think the cast was fine. I think they all worked really well together. The creepy guy is really creepy. The charming guy is really charming, and the couple is a cute couple. Like, everyone plays their characters really well. But again, it fails with the writing. Too many conveniences, too many plot holes, too many contrivances, too many missed opportunities, and too much of that really took away from the movie.
Oh yeah, it's like one after the other. That's like, I sincerely hope that the best-selling novel or whatever is far superior to this film.
And I'm still willing to read the book. Like, I'm interested enough in the concept and the idea to see, because most times books are typically better than the films.
Well, and it's like they have more time to flesh it out, but I feel like if the writers adapting the novel could have definitely focused on more character driven. I feel like they were very focused on, we've got to make like a horror / thriller / suspense, and they were very focused on making that happen and not focused on character driven.
Yeah.
Because I think if it had really focused on the characters, it would have been better. It could have turned out better.
Right.
Even with that plot hole where I'm like, you said you want to leave. Take dead person's keys and go.
Well, because like my mind even goes to the thing that pretty much sets this all up, and not Darby's time in rehab or her mother being sick.
Oh, yeah.
The kidnapping event in of itself. I think it's
of the kid
so poorly explained and quickly rushed that it ends up hurting the film overall, because it's like, well, we got to explain plot twist 2 to make you understand, but again, it's like, it's too convenient. Like, how does this happen? Like, don't you plan things for 2 different days? Because like, we also don't even know how long, like, for the most part, we don't know how long this girl's been kidnapped, right? And so it's like, well, when do the kidnapping events take place? When do the events here at this take place? How much is that space in between? And then there's also the kind of wrench in the thing of the she's diabetic or something. She has some type of health issue where she has an
adrenal gland issue. Something about like the more agitated she gets and the more adrenaline is in her system, the worse she gets. Do they call it Addison's maybe? But she has that particular issue that she needs medicine for.
Yeah. And the fact that at no time prior to the events of the film that there was any type of problem, which when you think about it, I think my adrenaline's going to be pretty high the entire time I'm being kidnapped.
When I'm getting kidnapped, right?
So, it's just one of those things where it's like, I bet the book is a little bit more in depth, and again, character choices. You get to hear the characters' inner thoughts. We get to understand personal motivations a little bit better. Whereas they tried to fit this in under a 2-hour runtime, and we're just like, okay, let's just jump right in. We'll have this tiny little slow point, and then we're just going balls to the wall. Okay, she finds the kid in the van, confides, then shenanigans happens.
Right, and then when we get to the ending and we said like she's literally in the same place, that transition to the end where it transitions to the painting on the wall and she's literally in the same spot, I was like, are you going to tell me this was her dozing off during the meeting? Because it's literally the exact same where we started with her. I was like, are you flipping kidding me? If you're going to do it was all a dream.
I might have given it more points for that.
Well, it's like, at least, I mean, they didn't, but I was like, really?
I mean, at least that would have been clever, and it would have made up for all of the contrivances and coincidences. Like, of course, someone with a drug disorder, having,
Well, that's what I thought. I was like, they're going to do it's all a dream, and they're going to find out that she, like, took something or snorted something before the meeting. Like,
yeah, see, and that was a scene that I had an issue with, early on at the beginning of the film, when she pulls off to the side of the road and she fiddles with the little bit of heroin she has or whatever drug she has, and then we get, I assume, as a flashback or a dream where she ODs, and then her mom and her sister are outside the car banging on her car, and then she wakes up and it's the cop knocking on the window. But like,
right,
again,
at that
we
point,
have no
I'm
context.
like, did she die?
Right.
Like, and this is the all continuation in
Again,
her head.
That would have made it more interesting too, that this is a purgatory, right? And paying a
Right.
penance. But
Right.
like, it's just one of those things where I think like they took like a lot of different like Strangers on a Train, Alfred Hitchcock ideas, and we're like, oh, let's do this. And what about if we do this? And hey, everyone's seen Murder on the Orient Express or read Murder on the Orient Express. Like, again, Murder on the Orient Express, there's a reason why all the same people are on the same train. Like, there's no contrivance there. Right? But this, it's like, how do these 5 random people, and most of them have all of these maybe interconnecting connections, end up in the same place at the same time on the same night in the middle of a blizzard? I don't know about that. It doesn't quite feel natural. It feels very forced. And again, like we said with Picard, it's where you can see the writers working, like them just trying to come up with the idea of why all these people are here.
Yeah, because a lot of it, like you said, even like Nail Gun, they're kind of like, what can we do to limit gun so that we have really use this really cool nail gun?
Yeah.
Like, it feels more like, how can we do this cool thing than like, how do we make the story and bring the story to life from the book to the screen?
Right. Well, I don't have much to say unless we were to spoil some stuff, and I don't really intend to spoil on it. But
yeah, I mean, unless you want us to tell you the spoilers.
No, I think we'll leave it up to the audience this time. We've done spoilers a few times before.
This is one where I would say, like, if you like mystery, suspense, slight horror, this isn't really very much horror.
No.
I mean, this is I'm like, you gotta go see it now, unless you've read the book. If you've read the book, watch it, because you'll probably get a lot more out of it.
If you've got Hulu.
Yeah, but yeah, it's not like if you're sitting there, doing the scroll game, trying to figure out something to watch, go ahead and watch it. Yeah. But like, if you're like, should I change my Saturday night plans that I planned on watching X, Y, or Z? No. Right. Don't waste your time. Go ahead and watch what you already planned to watch.
And
this
have this
in the queue.
This little scene here that just kind of played here, that was another point that like bothered me, is like, she gets the call from her sister, like legitimately from her sister. Even the attendant like knows it's from her sister. And then she's like, my mom's sick. Like, can I get a day pass? Come on. You're just trying to get out of the program. It's like, her sister, like, you talked to her sister.
You literally talked to her sister and interrupted her and said, no, this is very important.
Exactly.
It's an emergency.
That's what I was just about to say. It's not good. Like, you tell her it's not good. And you're like, you're just trying to weasel out. You set up, when you have no phones, except one of the patients has a phone. Because, again, plot device is plot device. But yeah, it's like, come on. You guys knew before she answered the phone and talked to her sister that there was a problem there. Now you're like, well, we can't without your doctor's approval. Well, but it's Friday, and so your doctor's not going to answer. Well, you can't call a damn cell phone. Like, you can't be like, hey, we got a special situation here. That's patient...
kind of one of those jobs where you would expect somebody to be on call.
Right.
Like,
right. Not even just to be on call, just to be like, okay, yeah, your sister called in. We called her back. We talked to their doctor. Like we confirmed your mom is sick, right? Yeah. I mean, I would have even done that prior. Like, if I were the attendant on the phone, I'd be like, are you at the hospital? Can I speak to your mother's doctor? Can get her doctor's name? Can I get the name of the hospital you're in? Okay, all that's good. All right, we'll talk to her. We'll get her on the phone. We'll set up a plan to get her out to you. Like,
something.
It just seemed, again, it was just like a plot device to get her to break out of the rehab to go see her mother, and then of course get her stuck here at this place. So yeah, not much else to say about it. Kind of, again, you got nothing else on the docket to watch. You don't know. It is a fairly decent mystery thriller to watch. It doesn't do anything new. It's a lot of kind of rehashed ideas mixed into one, but enjoyable. And again, it's an hour and 45 minutes, hour 46 minutes, so it's not going to take up a huge chunk of your time. And yeah, I think for the most part people would enjoy it. And for a score, I think I'll stick with what I did with Picard. I think I'm going to give it a 3.
Yeah, that's just what I was thinking about. I'm like, 3, 2.75.
I could say I didn't hate watching it. I didn't feel like I wasted my time, even though it clearly has issues. But it was a fun little movie to put on a Sunday, you know. So just definitely check it out. I did have an idea of one other subject to talk about. This one might have to do volume, might get us in trouble. But
Shame.
Well, don't release it on YouTube if you don't want people to talk about it and react. I don't know if you saw. Okay, well, also let me be clear. This is a spoiler if you have not seen Batman.
Deleted scene. I didn't watch it.
Okay.
I saw it out there, but I didn't watch it.
I'm gonna go ahead and pause it right now. If you have not seen the Batman, go disappear for a few minutes. I mean, you could probably just go ahead and tap out right now. Because this will be the last thing we're going to discuss about. But I saw this, very intrigued by it. Figure we can kind of pause and play as the scene is going on. It's about a 5-minute clip. I'll make sure that I have YouTube pulled up over here in case I start seeing copyright issues. And let's go ahead and do this. So you have not seen this yet, right?
Mm-mm.
Okay. I'm just trying to make sure I'm seeing everything. Oh, that's okay. That's what that is. It's weird. I'm seeing us over in YouTube Studios. All right. And personally, as soon as this starts playing, I think that this should get added back into the film on home release.
Where would this have been added into?
So this would have been added in. This would have been shortly. This would have at least been after the commissioner's death. So
I'm just like, is this when he went to talk to Riddler?
No.
Or before?
No. This is way before. So like
I
said,
when he's
this
still
is
trying to figure things out.
This is shortly after the commissioner's death by the Riddler. And he's trying to. So I liked how Matt Reeves kind of said his intention for the scene, and that was Silence of the Lambs. Clarice going to Hannibal Lecter for advice on how to identify the killer in Silence of the Lambs. So that's kind of the whole purpose of this. Is he's gone to Arkham to discuss with this character. Again, if you have not backed out yet, back out now if you have not seen the Batman. Again, big spoilers because it is a thing near the end of the film. It doesn't ruin any plots, but it does ruin kind of some special stuff that you would have ruined for you if you have not seen this yet. I also think one of the very clever things that Matt Reeves does with this scene is how much he obfuscates the straight-on look at this character.
So you never get the full...
You do get some close-ups, but a lot of the early shots here are all kind of blurred as he's in the background and Batman's more in the foreground.
Almost our anniversary, isn't it?
There's a serial killer. I want your perspective.
First anniversary paper.
And I like also he is using the original inspiration, which is The Man Who Laughs. It's a Connor Veidt, I think, film, which is about a rictus grin that a man is born with, kind of using that concept in the design. At least seem to be somewhat good on the YouTube end of things.
Like, so far so good.
Yep, not seeing anything yet.
It's violence. It's so baroque.
And I definitely suggest that, again, this gets added in the home release of Batman.
Ridiculous.
Because I do feel like this is kind of key and important and makes that final scene in the film make more sense.
I know.
Yeah, as to why he showed up.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Oh, is he? He's a nobody. Wants to be somebody.
And I actually like, I didn't know if I would like this actor doing this character, but he actually, the more I watch this, is like my third time watching it. I like him more and more.
Oh, no. This is very, very personal. He feels these people have all wronged him. Probably goes way back. Unhealed wounds, stolen lunch money.
That's what I'm talking about. You get kind of that blurred look, like you get an idea.
Yeah. So,
he's a fan of yours?
Without straight up showing you.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe he's got a grudge against you too. Maybe
I can see people getting annoyed with it after a bit, kind of like.
Any theory?
Like, we all know, why can't we just see his face?
Mm-hmm. But again, like wait for the end, I guess, of the clip is more of what to say with that.
But something is different this time. This is very upsetting to you.
I mean, I won't be surprised if we get hit with a claim after the fact that this stream processes, but again, not going to refute that one, and I'm going to give them this one because we are kind of playing a straight up thing from it.
Like in full, yeah.
You two have so much in common. Masked Avengers. So he's even more righteous. Oh, are you afraid he makes you look soft?
You're wasting my time.
See, it's like that kind of looks on the back of his head. Like, it makes you just kind of wonder what happened.
Yeah, because obviously, and his hands are all burnt, too.
It's still kind of bloody.
I think you don't really care about his motives, whether he loves or hates you. I think somewhere deep down, you're just terrified. Because you're not sure he's wrong, huh? You think they deserved it, huh? You think they deserved it.
So yeah, we do get kind of a better look at him there.
At him.
You know, you get the slow, like, with the look at the eyes, and then you move down to the mouth. So you don't really ever get to see him fully, but you do kind of get the idea of what he looks like.
Yeah, the makeup, like you said, it has that inspiration from the Grimm, but it also looks like he got, like, I'm thinking about Michael Keaton Batman when he is like dropped into that vat. Like he actually like looks like he's been dropped into a vat of something and burned and has those burns and things like on him.
Yeah, I think,
and
like,
not just coming out perfect with smiling Jack Nicholson.
I think like in his mentality is he has him, you know, have some form of a birth defect, and then of course we don't know. As in fact, as he says there in the scene, like, oh, it's almost our anniversary, so we know that they have met up, that there has been something. We don't know if, you know, he fell into Ace Chemicals or not. We can assume he did, or had some type of reaction or some type of thing happen to him that caused this issue. So, yeah, it's one of those scenes that, like, maybe other people don't think it's that needed, but I liked it, and I think that, again, it puts that final scene into greater context, because, like, prior, you just don't even know that he's around, and this goes kind of like, oh, okay, like, you know, it gives more of that kind of idea that he's been around for Batman's been around for 2 years,
Right, and I think the only thing I could think of is maybe the studio's like, well, we don't want to really confirm or get your hopes up for another movie, like a sequel. Whereas I feel like this would very much feel to me as I'm watching it that there's going to be a sequel.
Let's see.
I mean, regardless of whether there is or not, but if I'm watching this in the movie, I'm like, oh, he's going to come back. They're going to do something. Excuse me, with Joker.
Let's see.
Because I would be feeling like, I don't know, that I'd be kind of expecting it or hoping for it.
Let's see. It was a really cool, creepy cool scene. That was the scene that was meant to introduce this guy and to tease the audience to go like, "Oh my, he's here too. What's this going to be?" And then it seems so delicious in the story since we already set him up to have him at the end of the story, completion of the Riddler arc. Be that he was in the cell next to this guy. Oh come on! Yeah. There was something he had said about why he
wanted it.
Like why he removed it.
Oh, well, while you look for that, this just reminded me of a little reel that I saw that I just thought was really fun. It just gives you a chuckle, at like 10 o'clock at night when you're scrolling, where the guy was like, now I need to ask all the Twilight fans, do I have to watch all the movies before I see the Batman? Or, he's like, or can I just watch the first one? And I was like, just chuckle, not like a bust out laugh out loud, but like chuckle, you get a like. Just thought of that because we're watching this.
He felt it was not necessary, as he felt that amid the complex narrative, taking out such a scene kept the story moving in a way it needed to. Now, that ultimately, again, that's his choice. He's the director. It's his film. I personally, maybe, again, this is coming from someone who's probably like, I want to see that character like all the time. So, part of that me. But like, it's... I like that when he talks about it within context of kind of being a Hannibal Lecter, Clarice Starling type of situation where Batman is going to this guy for advice to help develop an MO and figure out who this guy is. There's something about that I really like, and I think that had it been entered into the film, I don't think it detracts from the story, and I don't think it slows the story down. I am surprised, as for most deleted scenes, they're not that long, that it is a 5-minute scene. There's enough that goes on there, and that I'm like, okay, fine, do your quote unquote director's cut, and add it in there.
Have that in, yeah.
I think a lot of people want that to be in the grander context of the film.
Do your Lord of the Rings extended edition.
Or we could just start we can start the release the Reeves cut, But yeah, I've that's again like my third time watching it. I'll probably watch it a few more times. I really like that scene. I really like what the actor does with it, and it kind of hypes me up to where we might see him in the future, with a Batman sequel. I kind of like this universe, and even though I like the Snyderverse and I like everything that's kind of established there and set up there, I do like this world, and I would like to see other of the DC heroes show up in this world and see what kind of Reeves universe for DC would look like.
Take on them, yeah.
It's like Warner Brothers allowed Reeves to do what Snyder was trying to do. But instead of doing it with multiple characters, they said, okay, you're going to focus on this one character.
Yeah.
Establish him, establish his world, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, then we'll figure it out.
Whereas with Snyder, they're like, okay, do your Superman movie. Oh, wait, Avengers just came out? Okay, now you got to do Justice League. So,
yeah,
it kind of hurt him in the end. But I can't think of anything else to put on the docket. I don't know if you had anything.
We have any upcoming shows that we're gonna start?
We got Moon
popping
Knight.
In. I was gonna say, yeah, like that's coming up, and Obi-Wan, and
then Doctor Strange before too long.
Eventually Miss Marvel. So I think Moon Knight would be the next one. So we'll be doing like Picard and Moon Knight.
Probably, and then maybe one movie in there, depending on what's out. And I know Morbius comes out next week. I don't know if I'm going to get out to see it or not. And then I will be seeing Sonic 2 with my nephew, as we went and saw the first one together before the pandemic and the lockdowns hit. So, it's going to be kind of nice to go see that together. He really enjoyed the first one, and I enjoyed the first one. Again, this is the one thing, like, I know I keep promising my toxic fandom video, but, it's just finding time to do it with everything else that's on the docket with my other
we'd
life.
end up on one of the weekends where you just have to skip a live stream and just take the 2 hours to work on it.
But this is a thing of where a studio listens to its fan base, and that's why, like, Sonic, although not perfect, earned my ticket and earned my purchase of it, because they released that first trailer, and let's see if I can pull it up here to remind everybody what Sonic originally looked like for their film.
I was trying to yawn and laugh at the same time. It looked pretty terrible.
Even this is the perfect one to even transition to. Once I get over here. Nope, wrong key. This. Remember, that's what he originally was going to look like. And after the backlash from fans and people not liking that at all, rightfully so, we end up, and this will give you the better comparison even, and actually is a better looking picture. This is what we ended up getting.
Yeah, he does look much better.
That's what, when fans are asking something from a studio or being vocal about something they don't like, the director, the studio, they said, okay, we're going to delay it for 6 months. We're going to fix this. We heard you. And they earned so much goodwill from doing that, and earned a lot of people's money for doing it. And I mean, I remember it ended up being a higher grossing film because, like, you look at the nose is completely different, the mouth, the eyes, the fur,
the texture. Yeah.
It is just
it seems like they were trying to do too real.
Yeah.
Like to make it look too real so you can see all the fur, like, because we know he's furry, but like it felt like they were trying to show you all the fur and like every little, like he's an actual real animal, when it's like, well, he's not.
Yet when what people are really looking for is to be as accurate as possible to Sonic. I mean, like, no one wants to see a realistic version of Sonic. People want to see, they want to see this. This is what they want to see. You know? And
CGI.
And I mean, hey, they did fine. They made these blue. That's fine. Like, I don't have an issue with his arms being blue because that right there looks weird. This is from Sonic 3, but that's what people were expecting, was something like this. And then you go to that original design, you go, no. One, it's horrifying to look at. And two, it's just such a departure from what the original design looked like, and in my opinion, it's kind of also disrespectful to the original creators of Sonic. I can be fine with Jim Carrey being Eggman and Eggman not being a huge fat bald guy, but and that's Tails looked great when Tails shows up, and Knuckles looks great, so I'm very excited for that film. I'm expecting it to be pretty good as a follow-up, and yeah, so that's some of the stuff we got up to talk about here in the near future. Definitely excited for Moon Knight, especially the last little mini trailer I saw, which makes him basically like Jason Bourne, essentially, with multiple personality disorder. The one thing I don't like, I don't know if you heard this, the one thing I don't quite like about it is they're saying that it's kind of disconnected from the MCU.
I don't know. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, it depends on...
Because at this point, you do kind of want to feel that they're all sort of connected.
Right. Yeah, you don't want to... There's a point of making it disconnected, like, to use as an example now, the Disney Plus streaming shows of Daredevil and Luke Cage and all them, they managed to feel connected, but again, they didn't, like, try to overdo it and couldn't overdo it, so that's why when you look at okay, when do these take place? I still put them in right after Battle of New York, but before Age of Ultron. So, all of the stuff that happens there can be isolated and stuck in just this one part of New York, and there you go. If that's what they want to do with it and be like, okay, we'll name drop a few things here and there. Maybe we'll talk about the battle, the little battle in New York on Christmas, and leave it at that. And maybe talk about an accident at the Statue of Liberty. And,
something.
Some tiny little things just to pass it on the background to show us you are still in the same world, but not relying on characters to show up.
Yeah, I don't feel like in order to show that you're in the same world, it has to be a big thing. It can just be something that's on the TV that they walk past, you know? Like you do that selling TVs that are all stacked in the window, that old trope. It's just something. It doesn't have to be a huge, like, look, we're connected. It could just be like, oh, hey, there's the newscast from Hawkeye, talking about something like it's just little things like that.
Or even Kingpin still at large or something, like some tiny little things. You don't need to. So, that if you're like disconnected that way, totally fine with it, but if you're going to be like, yeah, we're having no in-world references at all. We're just focused on Mark Spector and that's it. And it's like, no.
We'll see. Yeah.
But I'm not worried for the show at all. I think the show is going to be fine. And, you got Oscar Isaac and, I typically enjoy everything he's in. Although it's funny, he actually turned out to be that way because when I saw him originally, first movie I remember seeing him in was, Sucker Punch, and his character is such a jerk and evil guy that I'm like, I never want to see this guy ever again.
Ever again. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes do you ever have that where it's like an actor plays a character and they play them so well, like Cersei in Game of Thrones is a good example. They play the character so well, you're like, I never want to see your face again.
Or
it's like, and you try to separate him out because it's like, I'm so sorry, I know you're an actor, you're doing your job so well, but I cannot look at you.
Or you're Sean Bean and you just get killed in everything you're in.
Every time.
All right, folks. I think that's going to do it for us this week. Hey, we almost made the full time. But we'll be back next week. Well, probably next week. We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see if anything.
That might be
comes
the
up
break week. That's going to be the break week so that you can do the fandom video.
Well, and depending on some things I can't go into detail about, depending on if there may be some transitions I'm going to be making in my life, that would also be hopefully made aware of this week and would impact some things. But we'll see. We'll see what happens there. But as always, just follow our social medias. We'll post it out on there if we're going to be live, and we appreciate you guys spending some time with us, whether it was here in the live stream or if you're listening to us on replay. Always appreciate it. And we will talk to you guys next